Beautiful, Phil. Just beautiful. You helping us to get what we want. That's just about says it all. I don't believe that I could have said it any better myself. But now, dear friends, we must return to the parable of the prodigal industrialist, which I mentioned a few moments ago. This is both an ancient and a modern story, and several of the names have been changed to protect the supposedly innocent. And it begins like this. In a not so distant time, there was a wealthy man named Delirium who owned a prosperous automotive dealership. And it came to pass that this man did sire an ambitious son named John, who was thereafter raised up in such a manner as befits the son of a successful merchant, which is to say that he was spoiled rotten. And this pampered child was groomed and polished so that in the fullness of time he should follow in his father's footsteps at the dealership. But it came to pass that this boy John was even more ambitious and more spoiled than his father had been. And so he went forth to study at the great vehicular temples of learning in Detroit, and thus to prepare for a seat of power among the corporate mighty. So time passed, and lo and behold, young John Delirium did become a junior executive, and through the studious and selective application of modern-day corporate ethics, he eventually rose through the ranks of his peers until he sat unchallenged at the right hand of the Chairman Almighty. Thus, he had reached the pinnacle of corporate power. But verily, verily, it came to pass that this man, John Delirium, was even more ambitious than this. And so he forsook the halls of corporate power, and he dreamed of obtaining the greatest assurance of immortality that men have ever known. He dreamed of obtaining that eminence of the Ford himself, that vision of his very own name emblazoned upon the grills of millions of shiny new cars. Can you imagine it? Can you imagine it, brothers and sisters? Can you imagine your own name emblazoned on the grills of shiny new cars? Can you imagine standing on the street corner right in Cleveland, Ohio, and watching as hundreds and hundreds of small, cute, four-cylinder Johnsons rolled by? Can you imagine standing in a new car showroom? Can you imagine standing there and looking at a big, beautiful, 8-cylinder, shiny black Jablimski right there before you? Well, that's what he dreamed of, ladies and gentlemen. That was his dream. And to achieve this dream, he went away to a far country and founded his own motor company. Now, he could have developed a small, fuel-efficient, cost-effective vehicle that would have been designed to free the suffering masses enslaved to the gas pumps of the Western world. And if he had done this, he would have ensured his success and his immortality, even as the Ford himself had done with the invention and the mass production of the Model T. But did he do this? Did he come up with this wonderful thing, this wonderful product that all the world needed? No way. Instead, he chose to create for himself a car as pampered and pompous as he was. He chose to create a mobile, stainless steel, bat-winged monument to overindulgence and bottomless bank accounts. And ladies and gentlemen, while the world stumbled under the whip of inflation and stagnation, while world markets declined, while bankrupt countries teetered on the brink of destruction, this John Delirium wined and dined with the high and the mighty, and he wasted his capital, ladies and gentlemen, in riotous living. And as world demand for automobiles plummeted to the bottom, he vainly produced more and more and more shining delirium motor cars until his dealers' lots were awash with unsold stainless steel. Ladies and gentlemen, the end had to come. It finally had to catch up with him. With his capital gone, with his credit curtailed, with creditors hounding him everywhere he went, this John Delirium desperately sought to salvage his grand illusion by the hasty selling of that most expensive of illusions, nose candy. Now, you all know the next part of my story. You know about the degrading arrest. You know about the public outrage and the embarrassment, both financial and social, that this man has endured. But the question is, brothers and sisters, the question is, what will happen to him now? How will he survive? And what will the authorities do to him? Well, I'm going to tell you. Not a damn thing. That's right, dear friends. John Delirium's lawyers will keep this thing in litigation for years and years. And in the highly improbable event that he would ever be convicted, he will serve out his extremely limited sentence in a penal facility that would make the Beverly Hills Hilton seem like a flop house without a mattress. In the meantime, the Delirium Motor Company has been purchased by eager investors. The Delirium sports car has become a collector's item and is now selling for more than its original price and is expected to grow in value with each passing year. Delirium himself has become a cult figure and is known throughout the world. And this incredible amount of publicity has brought various book, television, and movie offers to him that are said, by sources in the know, to amount to the tens of millions of American dollars. And why, friends? Why has all this come about? Because the Ford moves in mysterious ways. Because once the Ford has lifted you up into the rarefied atmosphere of the obscenely rich, once the Ford has filled you with the glory of the entrepreneurial spirit, there is no misfortune, there is no mistake, there is no miscalculation, and there is no misdeed that can stand between you and your fortune. I repeat, once you have accepted the Ford as your personal financial savior, there is no way that you can fail to eat off the fat of the calf. And now, brothers and sisters, I would like to conclude today's program with a reading from page 135 of your Naugahyde hymnals entitled The Apostles' Greed. Those of you at home, please feel free to read along with us in your hymnals, or if you do not have a hymnal available to you, you may simply repeat the words as I read them right now. I believe in 2 cars.
I believe in 2 cars.
That which puts me in the right status.
That which puts me in the right status.
And in all emissions, visible and invisible.
And in all emissions, visible and invisible.
And in one Ford.
And in one Ford.
The begotten Son of Henry.
The begotten Son of Henry.
Car of cars.
Car of cars.
Power for dollars.
Power for dollars.
My machine of my machines.
My machine of my machines.
Begotten of many component parts.
Begotten of many component parts.
Maker of 1/6 the gross national product.
Maker of 1/6 the gross national product.
Who for us consumers and for our salvation.
Who for us consumers and our salvation.
Came from Detroit.
Came from Detroit.
I confess my capital expenditures.
I confess my capital expenditures.
For the emission of carbon.
For the emission of carbon.
And the death of the world to come.
And the death of the world to come.
Rev your engines.
Varum!
Beep, 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 yeah!
You've been listening to Praise the Ford, the radio voice of the Cathedral of the Day After Tomorrow, with the Right Reverend E.Z. Cash. Join us next week at the same time and station, and don't forget to write Praise the Ford, care of WCSB, 89.3 FM, Cleveland State University, Rhodes Tower, room 956, Cleveland, Ohio, 44115.
Any similarity of the persons and situations portrayed on this program to any other persons or institutions living or dead is purely inconsequential. The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program are not necessarily those of the staff of WCSB or of Cleveland State University, but we're thinking about it.
Baby, you can drive my car.